Nailed it. You nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerds at Large Spoilercast for Cyberpunk 2077. I am Jeff Mayo. This is Darby Hallman, and we have guests. People.
Jeff's bringing so much energy to this recording. Guest, introduce yourselves.
Go first, Holden. You're the guest.
Oh, thank you so much, Brent. I mean, it's definitely you, but I'm your father, so I should go first.
That is true.
Yeah. I am Holden DePardo. I am on a video game podcast called Respawn Aim Fire, and I also do an Apple podcast called Networked as well. And I played Cyberpunk 2077. That's also something.
I've also played Cyberpunk 2077.
Nerds.
We have something in common. Hi, I'm Brent Gillahan. I do too much in life. I make music. I have podcasts. The Free to Play podcast, talk about games. The Cultured Opinions podcast, which movies, but we're transitioning and just whatever, and movies. And then the Untitled PlayStation podcast, which getting a rebranding soon.
Ooh.
And I stream at twitch.tv/porkchop118YT and then YouTube at porkchop118, as the last name suggested.
Heck yeah. We love both of these guys, and I'm so happy to finally be able to do this. This has been like the longest wait for a spoiler cast, which is not true days wise, but it is just felt. I have felt the wait for this one.
I don't know. We're still waiting on the Bugsnax one.
Yeah, that is true.
Dude, can we please do a Bugsnax spoiler cast?
Jeff, do a Bugsnax spoiler cast with this man.
I'll do it.
Come on,
Holden, you in?
no, I'm listening.
I would. I don't remember much about that game at this point. It's been so long, it feels like. But I'll join it. I'll listen. I'll chime in when I remember things. I liked that game. It was a good game.
I didn't know you played it.
Oh, yeah. I played it. I beat it.
Heck yeah.
I kind of got to it after. Well, I don't want to get into it because we're talking about Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Well, this is not a. We'll save it for the Bugsnax spoiler.
I feel like it's getting really close to being a Bugsnax spoiler cast. Yeah, so everyone make sure.
I will say, Darby.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
You're talking about the long wait. It felt like really long for me too, because at some point, like, you guys had said, "Hey, you want to do spoiler cast?" I'm like, "Oh shit, I need to beat this game." And then, like, right the night before I was going to visit family for Christmas, I was playing it, and I'm like, "Oh, I beat it." Like, okay, I don't know what to do now. I had this whole plan of like playing the game throughout like Christmas break to get up to the spoiler cast. Like, now I don't know what to do with my life.
Play it again.
Can you play it again? That is a thing you could do.
Well, I had a dumb idea, and I was like, I'm just gonna go platinum Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and that was 12 hours of my life I can't get back.
That is never a dumb idea, Brent. Star Wars
Dude,
Racer, never a dumb idea.
Oh, that game's so bad. I mean, not bad. It's like, it's really fun if you don't try to platinum it, and then by the time you get to the end of it, you just hate it so much. So now I'm just platinuming Minecraft because I have nothing better to do.
Oh damn! I feel like
That's
that might be a hard
huge
thing to do.
platinum.
Yeah.
The base set of trophies is fine. It's like you have to get to the Ender Dragon and beat him, which is fine. I can do that, but just the RNG on Ender Pearls kind of sucks. But I'm just kind of vibing a little bit. I played like 12 hours this past couple days. I think when I started, my time on PS4 was like 28. Now it's at like 40 because I've just been playing Minecraft, listening to some albums that I need to get through, and just vibing.
Well,
This
nice.
is not the Minecraft spoiler cast.
I feel like we are trying our hardest to not talk about Cyberpunk 2077. So if anyone is listening to this, make sure you have played through Cyberpunk 2077, or just that you don't care about spoilers, because we are going to spoil the mess out of this game. I have not been able to talk about spoilers for this game, and I'm excited to do so because there is much to talk about. So, final spoiler warning. You have been warned. Guys, let's just kind of do the typical thing you do with the spoiler cast. In as much as you can, briefly talk just where you've landed on Cyberpunk 2077. I understand that with this game in particular, that is like, it's a Herculean effort to be to like drill down your thoughts into like a simple thing. But we'll try our best. Holden, why don't we start with you?
So I'd say just initial. I really like this game. I think it goes without saying. Yes, despite the bugs and all those crashes, that kind of stuff, it still was a very enjoyable game for me. I liked the world. I liked the characters a lot. I felt like my decisions were impactful to me, whether or not they had this huge grand impact at the end of the story. I think we'll kind of find that out through the conversation. But like, I felt good about the decisions I was making throughout the game. I liked the RPG elements to it. I think there's a lot to like about this game, and I'm very excited to see where the DLC kind of goes from here. And I hope that this doesn't get written off completely, because I want more exploration of this world.
Yeah. How about you, Brent?
I love it. I do kind of think it's another one best of the generation, and I'm trying to like take my top 50 list and figure out where to put it. It's definitely from the 10 to 20s area, but like I think it's like in there, one of the top 50 games I've played. It's so good, but I'll try to keep this short. It didn't have that ending wow factor where like Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time. So when I was playing that game, I really enjoyed it, and I was having fun with it. It took 2 years to beat it because I don't play long games, but I kept coming back and having fun. So by the time I beat it, it was a climax of everything, getting to the end and realizing, shit, this is my favorite game. I love it. So getting to Cyberpunk, I was loving it like while I was playing it, but at the end, there wasn't this big like culmination of like ending it, having so many emotions. Even like these past like couple weeks thinking about it, there hasn't been this big final explosion in my head thinking about final thoughts of this game as a whole. It was more of the journey of, I like playing this journey, I like the story, I love it, but there wasn't this big encapsulation at the end of me being like, whoa, kind of thing. So I don't know, we'll get more into that, but that's kind of, if you understand what I'm saying, that's kind of
no. I think that actually hits the nail on the head for me, because this is a very like weird and kind of hard game to pin down for me, because I agree with both of you. I really enjoyed my time with this game, and there are many things about this game that I really do think are, you know, next level. They're like some of the best things I've seen in the game in certain areas. But at the end of the day, when I'm walking away from this, I do kind of feel like it was missing something. Like and I can definitely drill down some of the things that was missing, but there was just a general factor about playing this game that I'm not coming away with it with the level of just like RPG like warm fuzzies that I wanted to. And I think things like Witcher 3, Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time as well. And I think for many reasons, I think the story of that game hit me a lot harder and will stick with me more than this game. But that being said, this game also like stands on its own 2 feet in a lot of ways. It's a tug of war back and forth there, but it's certainly, once I started playing this game, especially when I got like halfway in, you start to realize it's a very good game, but it's not quite the like RPG role-playing paradise that was maybe sold to us, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, yeah.
Generally, I like the game, but I can't help feel at the end the game was a massive disappointment in a lot of ways. Like Holden was saying, like he felt the choices like mattered. I didn't really get that feeling. I felt like it was pretty binary, and as far, well, not necessarily binary, but with the choices you had were just say one thing and then say a snarkier version of that same thing. There are a couple side quests that had something that actually influenced the end of that quest, but it didn't really affect the world overall, which, as I'm sure, you know, I'll get into more as we go through this. I played The Witcher 3 for the first time this year, and so having that relatively fresh in my mind, I can't help but compare these two, and especially with what the promises were for Cyberpunk pretty much being like Witcher with that kind of stuff, but bigger. And I can't help but think it's a massive downgrade in that regard. And there's just other things in the game. I like the game overall, but there are a lot of issues I had with it.
Yeah, and I think Go ahead, Brent.
I was just going to say, I agree. I think it's a downgrade and an upgrade in some areas from Witcher 3. Like, I think the world is better than Witcher 3 because like I said, love Witcher 3, favorite game, but the open world was not like the best. Like it really kind of was bland in a lot of areas, and I used fast travel a lot. But Cyberpunk, I did enjoy the world. Like I'm not gonna say that I could tell you every district, but like I did enjoy going through there. There's so many times where I'm looking at the window of a car and I'm just like cinematically like painting the camera, looking around at these tall buildings and like hanging out, or I'll be driving my motorcycle and I'll just drive around and look, or like go into the slums and talk to different Ripper docs. And like I think the world is a lot better, but I agree with Jeff where I think the narrative didn't bring me in as much as Witcher 3, because both have simple stories, but it was the characters. I feel the characters drive both games, and I think there's more character driven narratives in Witcher 3 than Cyberpunk. Like I care more about the characters in Witcher 3 than I do Cyberpunk, and I had an open mind going into this. I'll also say real quick that I didn't hear about Cyberpunk until like a couple of years ago, so I'm not a guy that was like following it like 8 years ago, hearing like everything. And even when I heard about it, I was not excited for this game one bit. I didn't watch any Night City Wire thing. I didn't read any article because I was like, I'll play it when it comes out because it's CD Projekt Red, but like the gameplay doesn't look fun. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, where I believe you guys followed it up from announcement.
It wasn't quite. I mean, I kind of got excited about it through Witcher 3. I mean, Witcher 3 was such a standout RPG to me. And then this looked like it was, improving on Witcher 3 in so many ways. And I do want to touch on, there are ways that I think, like you said, I don't want to compare it to Witcher 3 constantly, but yeah, that open world, I think that Night City might be, from just a design of the open world perspective, my favorite open world in a video game. Like the city was just so dense, and like interstates going over. Like there are pockets of that city that I will never see because they're just there's a hidden away alley that has like its own thing going on, or like out in the desert and everything. It was just like that part of it when I was driving around, that's when it felt like this is like transcending a lot of other video games I've played, where normally I can kind of see the game like mapping this out, whereas this just felt like I'm in a city. I'm in a gigantic city that's impossibly bigger than I'm ever going to see. And that was immersive. That alone, I can get to my disappointments with interactability inside of that open world, but I have to give it to them. Like, I loved the actual environment.
I agree with that. And to build on that and kind of touch on a lot of things you guys have been saying, yeah, I agree. Like, there were so many points where, like you were saying, Brent, like you were driving around, you're just looking at the world, because there really hasn't been an open world city game. I mean, besides Grand Theft Auto, there hasn't really been like an open world city game where the city feels like a city as opposed to an excuse for certain mission structures or like whatever. It really does feel like a natural city, but like you're kind of saying earlier, Doug, with like there's like a missing element to it. Sometimes you are kind of the city going, oh yeah, like that traffic is weird, or that pedestrian is just crossing the street and then going back and then going back again and then just going back and forth across the street. Like there's like weird things like that kind of take you out of it. But overall, like the world felt real in the sense of the kind of districts that there are. There's this really wealthy place. There's more of a slum place. There's the Badlands on the outside. There's this like downtown area and all of it just like adds up to a very realistic looking city when you're looking at it from a distance. And I really hope that gets expounded upon, because I think it's one of the strongest parts about this game, especially with how that ties into the narrative structure, where like just when you go to certain areas and certain places have certain personalities to them. Like when you go to Cloud, for example, that place is very, very memorable. But I do want to put a caveat in here. I have not beaten The Witcher. I've tried many times. I did want to kind of throw that in there because everyone here has now played The Witcher and I'm the black sheep. I've tried. I've tried. It was very slow for me at first, but now that I've kind of seen Cyberpunk all the way through, I'm much, much more willing to go through with The Witcher. I started playing it again recently. I liked what I played kind of in greater context now, but I'm going to wait for the PS5 like next gen upgrade at this point since it's coming this year. So I might as well wait for that.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. But I'll definitely do a spoilercast thing or whatever with you for that whenever you do.
I would love to, because I like the way the story progressed, and I would like to see that in the context of the fantasy environment.
Also,
Oh no, I was about to say, Dari, even me and you have some done our spoiler.
I know we
cast
haven't done that, so I mean, we'll just wait on Holden. That'll be the perfect time. But I was just also like, while we're just talking about the open world design and everything, while I'm like staying on the positive right now, another thing that I thought was such a standout thing to me was like throughout this game, you are in so many different characters' cars and apartments and different buildings like that, and they were all unique. Every single time I went into someone's apartment, like this one person was like this corpo person, and it's like very neat and like everything's made up nice and everything in their apartment, everything's nice. Then I go to this other person, there's like pizza boxes everywhere, like soda cans all over the place.
Bed's all messy.
Yeah, like, and even in The Witcher and a bunch of other RPGs, every game, I mean, like, that happens in games all the time where it's like, yep, this is like the same exact sofa that I've seen in so many other people's.
Like as far as going back to the Witcher, Cyberpunk comparisons and how it's a big upgrade between in like world design is. Lucky for them, Witcher is the kind of game generally you can have copy and paste kind of NPCs and houses and stuff. It makes sense. Most of them look the same. Cyberpunk, you can maybe do that up to a point, but now they went crazy with it. Like, it's a big city, a bunch of futuristic people. All the stuff's going to be individualized, and I think they did a really good job with that.
And there were little things that, like, I don't know if anyone else felt. I really liked the little immersion moments of when you get in the car with someone, and the fact that like this entire game you can freely look around and do whatever you want. Whenever I got in someone's car, you can see the city going in the background, and I started to recognize like, okay, I know what part of town I'm in because I'm looking out the window doing this. And just riding in the car with people, and I would never like skip the ride. I would just go because it just made it feel, I don't know, there was just something kind of immersive about that. And there was a lot of other parts of the game that broke my immersion, but that was something, it was a little thing, but just doing that, or walking through someone's apartment and just seeing the personality in it, I think those were things that really stuck with me.
Especially those moments where you're driving with people in their car. Like there's a part where I was driving the river, I think on our way to the police department or something like that, and the dialogue ended, and there was a good amount of time where there was no dialogue after for the rest of the ride. And normally that would bother me, but I was like looking out the window as if I was on like a road trip or something like that. Like when you're on a road trip and you're not driving the car and you kind of just look at the lights and stuff. Like I was doing that while playing the game. I'm like, and it wasn't boring, it was enjoyable. Like I just liked seeing the city and how it evolves, because I'm like, oh, I can actually look at this now and not have to worry about missing a turn because the mini map's a little claustrophobic, we'll say. It's too narrow. So like I can really take in this world now. Like those are great moments. They're very subtle.
Yeah, it was so fun to just kind of like look out the window and look at the scenery. Though there's sometimes like if you're in the Badlands, it's like, okay, there's not really much to look at here. I'm just gonna skip it. But if you're like deep downtown in the city, like there's so many like cool areas. So if you get to like Japantown, I think like areas around there just look so nice and they're so fun. You get to like the huge skyscrapers and you're going like different like mall areas, and you're like going across like boardwalk bridges to like different skyscrapers. Like all that stuff is cool. And then like no story spoilers yet, even though it's a spoiler cast, like you get to like parade sequence and it's like everything going around that whole skyscraper area. It looks so nice. It was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially playing this game on PC, but also I saw Jeff's PS5 version. I still think like it's not that much of a downgrade on PS5, but especially playing this game on PC, for this being how big of an open world this is, there are times where like I would just come up and it would be sunset and like the sun is just like shining in through like buildings and everything, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is like really, really, it looks very, very, very good. I mean, obviously, I think like some Last of Us type of focus thing can like their facial animations and things like that are better. But as far as just like being in an environment that I can go anywhere in, this is like no game has wowed me visually as much as this. That's yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of like I think unfair comparisons and like, oh, look how good Red Dead Redemption 2 looks compared to Cyberpunk. I'm like, those are completely different environments. Like, trees is, not as hard to do as a cityscape with different lighting, effects everywhere. And they did a great job with the urban environment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But getting into some of the maybe more negative parts for me is just kind of what you can do in this world, because I do think when I get to when I'm looking at the ultimate package of Cyberpunk, I kind of feel like the best parts of it, like the things that I think it does the absolute best, is kind of the window dressing. Mm-hmm. And I think the actual like meat and potatoes that I think is like the most important part of the game is where I think some of that attention to detail fell off some. It's like eating a sandwich with just like the best possible bread you could ever find, but then just like really cheap old stale deli.
It's like a really nice loaf of bread and like bologna.
Basically. And some of the biggest things is just like, I was going into this game, I love Red Dead Redemption is a great example, and Red Dead Redemption was a game that was made over the course of freaking 8 years straight. I mean, it's like probably never going to happen again, but the level of like role playing that you could do in that game was just astounding to me. It was like when you walked into a town or walked into anywhere, you can interact with everything. You could like when you walked in town, it's like, I'm going to go take a bath, I'm gonna like get my hair cut, did all, like I would do all that stupid stuff that the game was not making me do because I was like that immersed. And like, you know, Arthur would come and he's like ragged after a day and it's like, it's nighttime, I'm gonna go like rest up and like get cleaned up. You know, it's a video game. I didn't have to do that. I could have just done whatever, but I was compelled to do that because they really fostered that sense of like you want to role play this character. I was hoping for something along those lines in Cyberpunk, and it really just aggressively was saying this is a video game over and over again through a lot of little things. But I mean, little things like, you know, you go up to the restaurant, it's just a menu. Like there's restaurants all over. I'm like, okay, that's going to be a part of this. You go up, it's like, there's no point in going there.
Whereas like Red Dead, you go in and there's like, oh, here's the book with the inventory of the whole store. Like, and your finger runs across the book. Like, or you can go into the dressing room and change the.
No.
There they are. They're back.
Okay, yeah, I'm back. It happens all the freaking time. All right, continue, Holden. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Whereas like when you. Like, for example, like the 2018 E3 demo for Cyberpunk, where they go and talk to who we now know as Vic, but was the Ripper Doc, and they're like, oh, look, you look at this screen he put in front of you, and you browse the screen like it's his inventory selection, and they show all that, and it's not in the game at all. Like, you just go to Ripper Doc, it's like, okay, here's a menu, choose what items you want, and like it's fine in the context of a game. Like, they're not bad menus, but when you're trying to create this immersive world, like, yeah, you're right, it does just turn into a game as opposed to this world.
Yeah, I never felt forced or immersed to do anything. And like all my friends, including you guys on Twitter, it's like, bro, don't rush the story. Like, just do side quests. But none of them, like, I did like the Pan Am quest, which was fun. And then I did a few assaults because I had an overpowered sword. So I would just go through and hit everybody in like 2 hits and I'd get a lot of money. Did that for a couple hours, made so much money, got so much crafting materials. But I forced myself to craft. I forced myself to do a few things, but I didn't do everything because I didn't feel forced or immersed enough. I got like 2 cybernetic upgrades right before the game ended. Like, I didn't really do much hacking. I didn't really do much Ripper Doc stuff. I didn't do a lot of side quests because I never felt like I needed to. And I love the game, and like I said, but there didn't feel like there was enough there for me to want to do everything. So
I don't think I ever crafted. I don't even think I know how that works. But yeah, I did do the Ripper Doc stuff until late in the game, and then I realized I could get a double jump in gorilla arms, and that just opened up the game big time. It's going around.
Dude, the Mantis blades are so good because I was rocking sword the whole time, so having the Mantis blades too were really sick.
Well, I got the Mantis blades, but then I immediately did a quest where someone just like drops this gold bat, and the gold bat did like 1500 DPS, and I'm like, okay, well, goodbye Mantis blades.
I was doing this quest, and I think it was like the first Pan Am quest where you have to go steal her car back or something. Yeah. And like, I had the sword, and I was dying so hard. That's the mission I turned it down to easy because I was like, fuck this, I can't aim.
Yeah, Jeff turned it down to easy. I don't blame y'all. Yeah.
I can't aim for the life of me in this game, and I don't know why. I am not bad at shooters. Like, I'm not so good, but like I'm not that bad. But even on easy, even on very low sensitivity, I can barely aim to like hit anybody. I don't understand it.
Yep.
So I was doing that mission, and like I was like, fine, I'll just use the sword. So I was equipping all my like skills because I didn't see a sword skill set, but I ended up doing all my skill points for like blunt weapons. The other thing that sucks is I had to do that like 7 times because you can't save during combat. So every time I reload the save, I would have to do everything I did again, and I would have to reload, do all the skills. I'd have to mess with my inventory again, do all that, and it was kind of annoying.
The Ripper Doc part I actually enjoyed because, despite the menus just being like a game menu, I enjoyed it because different Ripper Doctors had different legendary items and at different prices too. There's kind of this element of like, oh, I'm in this part of town, I haven't been to the Ripper Doctor yet. What kind of stuff do they have? And like I lucked out and I got one Ripper Doc who had a was a different skeleton or shoulder pad or something like that made my armor 200 higher than it currently was, which was like crazy for me at the time. Like that was huge. Like that really changed things, and I got like a Ripper Doctor addiction after that. Like I loaded up as much as I possibly could. I was always trying to find like the legendary like best version I could find. I did hacking a lot, so I'm like, okay, like let me make sure I get the right cybernetic or cyberware that gives me the most slots for adding in different hacks. And I got to a point where I had 21 RAM, and my RAM would refresh at 12 RAM every 60 seconds or something like that.
Wow.
So like I was just like, I was hacking like crazy, and it got to a point where like it was a primary method of me like getting through the game. Like, oh shit, stealth, let me blind that guy for a second. I'm gonna tap into that security camera and ping every single person in this area so I can see where everything is on my map. And like it really changed the way I approach different environments. But it does like keep certain cybernetic stuff to certain Ripper Docs. You really have to explore and just find things. It's not like every vendor has the same items.
And the other thing I liked about the Ripper Docs is that they're priced so high that it's an actual choice. It's like you can't just buy everything. It's what am I going to actually get here? You know? Yeah.
And then you're like, this is a good cybernetic wear, but is there a better one somewhere else? Or could I get the same thing cheaper somewhere else? Like you're always like considering.
Holden was talking about stealth, so I want to read a couple notes I had while playing this game. It's only like 3, and they're all about stealth. There was one cool thing before I get to bad things, where I was like stealthing around. I was doing this mission. I was being all sneaky, and I was about to like take a couple guys out, and then someone was like, "You know what? I quit." And, like he just starts like walking out of the area, and I was like, "That's kind of cool." Like it's simple, but it was like kind of cool that someone quit like while they were on shift. So there's like one extra, like one less guy there. So I was like, "That's cool." But in the same mission, I had a suppressed pistol, and the game doesn't really know when you put suppressed stuff on. So like I went to go shoot somebody, like I shot somebody, and Judy was like, "V, what? I just heard a shot." And then like V starts yelling in response to her. Even like the guards don't hear that I'm yelling, but he starts yelling in response like he's in a firefight. But I'm literally using a suppressed pistol. There's no way Judy heard that. And then there's just another time where she's going through, she's like, "Watch silently, don't fuck them up." But like I can't stealth. Like there's barely anything I can do in stealth besides maybe get that stealth pistol I had and then do cool hacking if you have like so many hacking skills. But I never found like any opportunity to stealth good at all. And like I like to think I'm good at stealth. I play a lot of Watch Dogs, but I just like, I don't know. I couldn't find any enjoyment in stealth or any reason.
The hacking felt just very.
I always got detected.
The hacking felt very one-dimensional to me. It just felt like very early in the game, I'd kind of like. It just seemed like a pretty normal like video game thing where you can blind this guy or you can distract him with something else. It felt like very limited, and I did it early on, but especially when I started getting later in the game, it's just like I just don't feel like doing this. And at some point, I took pride in the NPC saying, "Okay, you need to be really stealthy. Go in here real quiet." And I'm like, "Gotcha, bam, bam." You got it, boss. Grenade.
There are definitely there are some good hacks for stealth that are more unique, like getting enemies to fight each other, that kind of thing. but they're harder to find and they require so much RAM that you already have to be really invested in your intelligence stat in order to get the real benefit of all that stuff, that it definitely is behind a pretty high wall. I think I was just so stubborn and I'm like, no, I'm playing it this way. I will do it.
If you want to hack, like you have to, like if you want cool hacks to be able to stealth good, you have to want that. And that's what kind of sucks. Like I can't make a multi build where I have a couple cool hacks and I'm good with swords and like maybe I am cool with charisma. Like no, you have to put everything into intelligence and hacking if you want to even use any of these systems, and it's just kind of annoying. Like I get rewarding the player for wanting something. Like I totally get that, but there wasn't enough leeway for the people that didn't want to invest that hard.
I definitely ran into some problems there because I was so invested in intelligence. I maxed it out. I got to 20, and then everything else wasn't that high. But then I couldn't get certain cyberware because it would require like 8 body. And I'm like, well, I don't have 8 body, so I can't do that. But it's a cyberware, and that's kind of related to the intelligence stat, so I feel like I should be able to do that. That was a little frustrating.
Yeah, and I went in like I made my character and I pretty much just did it like I do a Fallout game where I turn my like strength and my charisma all the way up as I can for my base stats and I run, but I barely needed charisma. Like there's a couple points in that skill that you could do that are kind of cool, but I barely use charisma, and even when you do, there's a lot of times where like you offer up something in conversation using one of your skills, and they're like, "Nah, that won't work." It's like, okay, why did I build my thing of that?
Well, and this comes to one of my like biggest problems with the like RPG-ness of this game. I just to see what y'all think. Like when this game was being sold, part of the customization of it was like, yeah, you can build a character however you want. You can tackle these situations in so many different ways and everything. When I actually got in the game, on 2 different ways. Number one, I felt like it was pretty easy to just be a jack of all trades in a way where you were perfectly fine. Like my skill tree was just pretty balanced all the way around, and I never really felt like I was locked out of anything, because anytime you came up to a quest or anything, it pretty much felt like there's a door that you can brute force tear open if you have power. If you can't do that, walk 2 steps that way, there'll be something you can hack. If you can't do that, walk 2 steps that way, and there'll be something you can climb up and go in. And that was pretty much every single thing. And I never really felt like I had some big leg up on this one area, or like, oh, I was really at a disadvantage in this other area because of these skills. It just kind of felt like they were just empty, you know. It really didn't see the I don't know, it didn't compel me to like build in a certain way, because you could kind of just blaze your way through. And I kind of felt the same way with even just building hacking or building certain things. It just felt the game didn't, it wasn't hard enough to get through this to make me want to do that, because even brute forcing combat, you have so many healing items. So many. You can kind of just run through, explode things, and keep chunking your inhaler, and you're fine.
I never was worried about running out of health ever. I just kept loading those in. Yeah, I feel like I agree with that. There were in like a mission, like you'd have like the door you can go in, or you have this event you could sneak up to, or there's always like another like route. In dialogue, there were a few points where I'm like, oh shit, that's like a 15 in order to choose that dialogue option. But I was never certain as to how that influenced the mission necessarily, because I only played it my way. I don't know, like, if I hadn't chose that option, if things would be different, or if they scale those options depending on if you are really highly ranked in one area or something like that.
And there's even like simple things, like it's weird that I'm pulling an Outer Worlds reference, seeing that I only played like an hour of the 2 hours of the game.
Outer Worlds or the Wilds?
Worlds.
Or Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds. Good game.
I should know the difference. Damn it.
I actually got it right. I usually get it wrong. But like, there's like this type of thing I feel like was almost done better in Fallout and Outer Worlds or whatever. Because I remember in Outer Worlds, I think one of the genius things, like in the very first area of that game, there's a chest that has like an insanely powerful weapon that you cannot get to because you don't have like a check or whatever to get to that thing. that sort of like carrot on the end of the stick was just non-existent in Cyberpunk. I felt like it was never. I just never really once felt like the game was rewarding a certain play style for certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Holden mentioned the like voice or the conversation options. I felt like after some point, like I was kind of like Darby, and I kind of mostly evened that stuff out on my levels. I feel like at some point in the game, it's like the most it went was like maybe 8 or 9 for most things, besides the Ripper Doc stuff. Those required like higher like body and stuff. But for the conversations and brute force and all that stuff, once you get to like the 8 or 9, you really didn't need any higher for the vast majority of things. There might have been like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
I kept getting paranoid because I started, at least maybe it's for me because I was focusing on the intelligence stats so much, but I was getting dialogue options where I felt like I was already investing in intelligence so much, but it'd be like, you need to have 15 or like 19 intelligence to choose this option. So I'm like, shit, I better invest all the way in this because I don't want to miss out on a hacking opportunity if at all possible.
I feel like I never got like a 19 or anything close to that option or needed that for anything.
Towards the end of the game.
It was very rare.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I do agree with Darby that like Fallout does a lot of this stuff way better, even like earlier Fallout games, which is weird. But there were a lot of times where there was kind of like use for me to do stuff. Like there'd be missions where you could go this way if you don't have the skill points, but like you'll have to like take out a bunch of people that have to stealth around, or there'll be a door over here that if you're a high enough level you can hack through and you can like skip the whole thing. There were a few times like that I found really cool, or if like your thing's high enough you can hack and you can get some money, and I was like, that's kind of cool. But there wasn't like so much, like you said, there's no like mega super cool weapon hidden behind this door that only people that put 50 hours into the skill like we will be able to get. Like like I said before, and then like Jeff was talking about, dialogue options just kind of suck too. Like even in Fallout, they're kind of like, if you build that stuff up, you have enough charisma. I get it's kind of a cop out to like get so much charisma and then you get money everywhere. Like you were getting so many caps in Fallout if you had a high charisma, but they still did it cool because you would have high charisma and you would say certain things and they'd be like, okay, I see what you're getting at. Let me reward you for like putting your thing
you
in
felt
there.
rewarded
like
for it, right?
Like I said in Cyberpunk, they just say, nah, cool idea, but that's not going to work. Anyway, let's do what I want to do.
Well, and I wanted us to be like coming into the spoiler cast and be like, if like Jeff went all brute strength and Holden went all hacking, I wanted there to be like, there was a situation where Jeff is like, yeah, I had to fight through all these people, I did all this or whatever, the cops were chasing me, all this or whatever, and Holden's like, I just hacked them from a mile away, took the thing and left. What are you talking about? Like, I wanted something like that, but like, I never really felt like, largely, and this is kind of, I think this goes right into another big criticism I have, that the life path really doesn't mean that much. It means very, very little. The Nomad, Corpo, and Street Kid. I watched Jeff, because I was ahead of Jeff. I watched him play some scenes that I had already done. I was Nomad, he was Corpo. And I watched numerous quests with him, and it was literal. He would say his Corpo line, and the NPC would respond the exact same way they did to me. It was literally, they just inserted in a Corpo line and nothing changed in the conversation. Even for Takamura, who was a Corpo person. So I was like, surely he's going to have something. Nope. So all my interactions with Pan Am that I thought was because I was a Nomad are probably not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like I felt good about being a Nomad. I wasn't feeling good about a Nomad because it seemed like at the beginning the weakest of the openings. But when I was talking to Pan Am, I'm like, oh, I can see where this matters now because I'm getting to know Pan Am as a Nomad. And yeah.
I think they're just tricking us. I think it's...
Yeah.
No, you just become a Nomad.
It's kind of one of those things where like not every single decision can matter in a game like this because things would just get so complicated in the development end. But then you have to wonder at the same time, it's like, well, there were opportunities that were like missed out on because of this. Like going back to the whole like hacking from a distance thing, like there were missions where it's like follow this van and then that van went into a building and you have to hack the van, but you have to literally walk up to the van and insert something into it. But I'm like, but I can scan and hack into things from a distance anyway. Like, why in this instance am I no longer allowed to do that?
It's a special van.
Very.
It's a special van.
Well, I even think back to like Skyrim. Skyrim, I remember whenever like all of our friends would come and talk at lunch or whatever after we when Skyrim came out, and one of our friends played an orc, and there's an orc stronghold in there, and he talked about like going in there and there's this whole quest line or everything. The rest of us, we tried to go up there, we couldn't get in because we didn't pick orc. And that was a thing that he had, and it was a really cool thing. And it was like
Skyrim's so good.
You're just kind of like looking from afar. It's like, oh, I want to go in there and do that. But it's like, no, that was that thing. But there's also like you don't get that, but you get something else. Like you get some other cool thing that was exclusive to you because you're this individual, and it makes the world just feel like it's interacting with you more. And that's where I'm talking about. Cyberpunk is a combination of super great innovative things, and then other areas of the game I feel like it just takes multiple steps backwards. And that's the disappointing part to me.
Yeah,
I do want to call out
definitely. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Brent. It's good.
Life Pass definitely were half baked, but I kind of liked it, at least for me, because even if I go online, I see comparisons, it didn't matter to me. I liked knowing I was a street kid. I liked knowing that when I was in the middle of the streets and alleyways talking to certain people, you'd have that street kid option. And then V would be like, oh, so you mean this big shot that like did this back in the day and then you like completely ruined the streets kind of thing? Like I liked that, even if it didn't amount to anything. Like I didn't really know playing the game. I was just kind of enjoying V, like growing up in the streets and like knowing these certain things and like me saying it, even if it was the same response, I did enjoy knowing that's where I was from, and it was kind of cool. I will say earlier I was talking about dialogue options. I forgot there's like, I think the only one that like actually matters. So I was in the Pan Am quest. If you have a high enough intelligence, you'd be like, hey, let's do an EMP, and then Pan Am will be like, you're pretty smart, let's do it. But like there was only like a couple of those, really.
Well,
yeah, there is one mission though.
I mean, I did the EMP, but yeah.
Yeah, I did it as well.
Or maybe it was like him describing it, and she's like, "Wow, you're smart."
I just wanted to impress her, you know. I just had to.
Of course.
So I do want to call out though. There were some missions where I'm like, oh no, I can clearly tell that there were differences here because of my decision that don't necessarily impact the larger story, but do impact the specific mission. So like there's the pickup where you go to Maelstrom to get the robo dog, and based on some of the conversations I've had with some people, I had an extremely different outcome on that than some other people. Like I ended up fighting Militech with the Maelstrom gang as like my allies.
Yeah, I did the same mission. Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people were actually fighting the Maelstrom gang. So like, oh, that's cool. That was very different. There's the Sinnerman. Have you guys done the Sinnerman storyline? Or that one where
I did the ending and then loaded back and did. I was like, I don't want that to be what my V did, so I loaded back and.
What did your V do?
The
first time
I went through because I knew that everyone was talking about it being fucked up, and as soon as you start the quest, you're like, okay, we're gonna crucify this man. Oh god! So I went through and did the crucifixion just to see it, and I'm like, yep, I saw it. Rewind. Like,
yeah, it was weird. Like I had to go up and nail. There's a storyline where this guy is on death row, and because he's on death row, he's a huge like religious person. They want to do a real like Passion of the Christ, like real crucifixion of Jesus with a guy dying, and do it as a brain dance for people to recount to. It's really fucked up. But like when you get there, you're kind of. The executive is worried you're going to talk him out of it. So she offers to like pay you a bunch of money to just walk away, which I didn't do. I just stayed because I wanted to see where things went. But Darby, is that what you're talking about? Where like you decided to just take the money and go? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, like, or I saved like right before the decision to where are you going to go through with this or are you not? And I went through with it and then loaded back and didn't.
Yeah, because during the actual crucifixion or right before it, you could leave at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just loaded
ended up nailing
back
him in completely,
Same.
which was really weird. Yeah, very weird moment. Definitely a strange side story.
It was but I mean, like, I think that's where I talk a lot of negative about this game, and it was missing like some, like, it didn't impact me as much. But I think the writing is by and large pretty damn good. Like really good in a lot of ways. And that's a good example where it's like, this is really fucked up, but I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I also don't agree with him, but I kind of understand where he's coming from. And then you have the executive that's like, well, you're just a piece of shit. It's like, it's cool. Like you really, I don't know.
Yeah, because by the time I got to like the end of the game, I was like, I think I got a bad ending, but so fucked up and so weird and so creative that it's like I'm not mad. It's like I wish I had an happy ending, but it was like, okay, that was written so cool. Like I don't know if we're gonna go into like each ending we got, but
100%.
I actually do want to know each ending. Before we get to that though, just one more other decision I want to call out that I'm like, didn't even know that was a decision in the game, and it's very cool. It's there that you can save Takamura when Arasaka comes and attacks. I had no idea. I just ran to I just ran to save myself.
I went in there to Jeff and like I started talking about the game or whatever, and then I heard like someone talk about like, oh, we have to go get Takamura, and then I like stopped. I'm like, oh shit, is he not as far as I thought? I was like, oh damn it, I just spoiled to him that Takamura died in the parade, and Jeff's like, what are you talking about? He didn't die in the parade.
I saved his ass.
Like, what do you mean? He died in the parade. What are you talking about?
I saved a whole new ending.
Yeah.
So there are definitely moments where there's some cool decisions, but as the whole, I can see that.
But the ending definitely, overall, the ending was also another pretty big pain point for me because don't get me wrong, all the endings.
Well, what was your ending? Before you get into it, what was your ending? Let's go through the endings.
I went through Panem side quest, and then I gave up.
Where Brent?
Sorry, I didn't mean to I totally cut you off, Darby. I'm sorry, it was kind of rude.
Oh no, you're fine. I went through Panem side quest, and then I gave Johnny my body at the end.
Okay. What does that mean though? Like when you were with Panam, like did you guys run off together and?
Okay, you didn't do Panem's.
I didn't do Panam's. Yeah.
Are you talking about the?
I brought Panam along with me.
Okay, yeah. All right, I went through the whole nomad, like we're invading.
Okay, the two parts to this ending, we got to say what we did. To get to the final choice and what the final choice.
So I did Panem. I went with Panem to Arasaka, and then once I was there, when you get the choice to either Johnny becomes the AI and you go back in your body, or you become the AI and Johnny goes back in your body. V became an AI in mine, and Johnny took V's body in mine.
You can do that? That sounds cool.
Yep. And the whole epilogue in that one, I actually I like the epilogue in this. There's, in some ways, I feel like the ending of this game feel like it's more impactful than it is. It didn't hit me super duper hard, but that choice was interesting to me. Either way, and when you get to the end, and this is also we have not mentioned Keanu Reeves at all. I think he did a very good job with Johnny Silverhand. I really like Johnny Silverhand as a character. Like he really, really carried this game a lot, and I think that epilogue, if y'all haven't seen it, I think you really. I went back and saw the other ending, and I like the Johnny ending more. You really see that Johnny is like, okay, I have this new lease on life or whatever, but V gave her life for me to do this, so like. You really actually see that he's changed. That he wants to make the most of this because of the sacrifice you did, and I thought it was like a really good character moment with him. So, yeah, that was my ending. But my bummer about the ending was that it's very Mass Effect. There's a choice at the end of the game, and you're going to go on these paths. It's not other than the Takamura thing is like the only example. Other than that, there's really nothing you did in the middle of the game that influences the ending at all. And it's like that feels like a massive step back from Witcher 3, like we were talking about, where like Witcher 3 was like, these are the choices you made throughout the game, so here is your ending. It's not like you don't get to save this now. It's like, you made these choices, this is what you're, and I like that a lot more.
I will go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, Witcher 3 was like, okay, so these are the people at your battle. You can only have who's not dead yet, like who you decided to like let live, and like your battles were like so much different. Like the final battle, and then like the battle where they attack Kaer Morhen.
Don't spoil
Oh,
too
yeah.
much. Don't spoil too much.
Well, no,
Yeah, I just didn't want to
just
spoil
saying,
it, yeah.
But I said very light spoilers, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
like
do
it
feel like
depends
who
on
keep
like
alive,
who
I'm
you
like,
keep
don't wanna
alive
hear it.
throughout the game.
He's not going into specifics. What he said is like obvious though. So you're fine.
Then
I
Sephiroth
wanna
shows
know
up.
Yeah, Sephiroth shows up. Against
I
great.
was like, whoa, okay.
Secret boss, man.
I guess y'all can talk about your ending. Sorry, I kind of like dominated the conversation there.
No, you're good. So I did Pan Am as well. So I did the whole Pan Am line. I became a part of the avocados, or whatever they're called. I got the cool jacket and all
Avocados.
that, which luckily the avocados. And luckily I got to keep it after my save, which not everyone got to. So yay, thumbs up.
No.
It's a good jacket. A lot of good perks there.
Oh yeah.
So I did that, and then I decided to have Johnny go with Alt and become an AI, and then I returned back to my own body. But then I only had 6 months left to live, so I basically had this huge like run off with Pan Am where we leave Night City, and then we're just kind of riding over the water together, and then it ends.
Same.
Yeah, that's what Jeff did.
Okay, so I'm the only one that got the fucked up ending.
Fuck yeah.
Wait, did you go to Arasaka Tower? I'm actually very interested to know what happens.
Yeah, I went.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, I'm
It
I was
sounds like that was a good
really,
ending.
I was really worried that we all went Pan Am, which we almost did. 3 of us did.
I almost went. I was so close.
So
'cause I was
thank you,
playing with my
Brent.
girlfriend.
Thank you, Brent.
I was playing with my girlfriend. She's like, "You gotta go with Pan Am." I'm like, I don't know, man. I want to see like what Hanako's doing. So like, I'll go in detail. I'll say a lot of it because it's like there's so many twists and turns in that, so it might be a little long, but bear with me.
No, please
So you
do.
go with.
I'll be right back. I can still hear you, though.
Okay, I've told Holden about it.
Yeah.
But so you go with Hanako, and long story short, y'all are going. You go to this investor meeting, and like you're about to go down there, and then she's like, "Hold on, let me go get something else." So you go to the basement, and then she takes the consciousness of Saburo Arasaka because he uploaded like his consciousness already, like before he died. So he's talking to you, and he's like, "Hey V, what's up?" And you're like, "Whoa." So like she takes you to the board meeting, and then she's like, "Yorinobu has killed Saburo, so I'm the new CEO." And then everyone's like, "You're an idiot." And then like
You're a
she
woman.
like takes the thing, and Saburo's like standing above him all with his consciousness, and he's like, "You will not, you will listen to my daughter. Like you would respect me or something." Like, "Oh God, it's Saburo. Oh, I'm coward." And so then everyone gets like shot up by like a bunch of like Arasaka guards, and like, oh shit. So you have to go like, except Hanako, she's cool, she's chilling. So you have to go. Long story short, you go find Yorinobu, and you're like chilling with him. You're talking to him, and then like Hanako comes back, and he's like getting into her arms, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she's like, "It's okay, you're my brother." And you're like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But okay. And so
It's not like a
Hanako-
Jamie Cersei thing, is it?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm really not sure.
It's still on the table for it to be a Jamie
It's
Cersei.
on the table.
Now it's a real
Season
game.
8 wounds are still really strong.
Still really strong.
So fresh.
Actually, I forgot. It's not like that yet. Oh, I'll get to that though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
Yet.
So Hanako's like, "All right, you're in my end of the deal is I'm gonna uphold that." Sorry, I can't talk. I haven't been on mics in a while. So she's like,
Good.
"All right, go down with this guy, and then we'll go get you checked out." So you get on the elevator, and I think you talk to Gianni or something, and then you just like collapse. And so you wake up, and you're not sure where you are, but this chick's talking to you, and she's like, "All right, we got..." No, you wake up, and you're like in this trance. You're in like the digital world, and you're talking to Johnny. He's like, "You fucked up," and you're like, "What?" And then you pretty much go on this whole thing, and he's like mad at you because he feels like you're betraying him. And like even I tried so hard to be nice to him, but like he was like, "Goodbye, V." So like I think he just like dies. So you wake up and you're like, "All right, chips removed. We destroyed it. You're good." And you're like, "Okay, sweet." So they need to keep you around for testing for a while. So you're chilling there. She comes in every once in a while and like asks you questions, and like you do a bunch of tests. But it gets really fucked up, especially with some of the choices I made. So they do this thing where they're like, "All right, if I say something, say the first word that pops to your head." But a lot of the responses were like Johnny. So I kept doing Johnny.
Oh,
And this
gosh.
is this cool
Ah, dang.
No.
Sorry. Bad timing. Bad timing. All right, continue, Brent. This is great.
Johnny.
Johnny.
So like they're doing this thing and they're like she's like, oh, love Johnny, hate Johnny, and then like so you go with this and then she's like betrayal and I choose me, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that gave me chills because there's like a lot of Johnnies and the betrayal of me. I was like, whoa. So you have to do a bunch of these tests. I'm trying to speed this up. It's so hard to like
This sounds like a lot more like elaborate and involved than any of our endings. Jeez.
Yeah.
Dude, it's I'm telling you, it's fucked up. But like you're doing a bunch of tests and days go by, and you find out you're literally on a space station, like in space. So like you're like in orbit. You're like on an Arasaka space station in orbit, and they're like, all right, you get to touch down and make a couple phone calls. And they're like, oh, okay. So you talk to Pan Am, and she's like, because I'm in a relationship with her at this point. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what did you do? And I'm like, whoa, I'm sorry, babe. I don't know what's happening. And then she's like mad at me for no reason. She's like, all right, just come down here. I'm like, all right, yes, man. And you talk to Vic, and he's like, bro, I don't know how to help you, but I hope you're doing good. So a lot of time passes, and then like you get these like right before each day, and you get these weird little like segments like where you're sleeping and you wake up and you go towards like the hallway and you start to see like outer space like form around you, and then like you go down, you see like maybe like Johnny sitting on a chair, you see like some fucked up things in the hallways.
They doing
and, like,
something to you.
Bro, I don't. And then like the music starts swelling, it's creepy, and then you wake up, and then like it goes through this montage like day after day of you getting fed up with these tests, and like the music gets so sinister, like it starts swelling up, like, and it feels like a horror movie. It's terrifying. It's so crazy. And then like all of a sudden you end and you're like, all right, fine, you can go home. Also, you see on the news that Saburo put his consciousness inside Yorinobu's body.
Oh
So
my
like
god.
he still exists, but he took Yorinobu's consciousness. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So Hellman shows up and he's like, all right, I have a deal for you. You can either no, because he's like, the radiation is still killing you even though the chip is destroyed and out of you, but the radiation is killing you. So either we take your consciousness, put it on a chip, put it inside the vault until we find a donor, or you go back to Earth and you die in 6 months. And so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go back to Earth and die in 6 months. And so like the credit, like before the credits roll, like you start going out and you get like this really like weird somber ending where like your bags are packed and you see yourself start walking down the hallway, and like you're about to enter the elevator and like you look out the window and it's like you see yourself in space and everything. You're looking out, just nothing but space, and I'm like, that gave me chills. So then credits roll and there's like a bunch of like phone calls of people being like, hey V, haven't got a lot of time to talk to you. It's like everybody that
Yeah,
like,
we got all of
was
that
important to
yeah,
you.
too. It's
I didn't know
like
if it was like different depending on what you did, but
in a slightly
Yeah, there were some based on side quests that if you didn't do the side quest, they wouldn't show up.
in a slightly bummer way, it sounds like that whole crazy thing ends at pretty much the same point ours did, where you know you have 6 months to live and you walk into the
Yeah.
sunset. But that whole thing sounds pretty crazy. That sounds like a lot of. That's where most of the effort went to. It sounds like that sounds pretty elaborate.
I
well,
think
there's-
so. It was insane.
I think there are like 7 different endings from what I've seen. There's even a secret ending where this is gonna tie into your space station thing, where like if you don't give Johnny an answer when you're on the top of the building and you don't give him an answer of like who you want to bring with you, he just says, all right, I guess we're just gonna do it on our own then. And you just go and do Arasaka Tower like on your own with no one else there with you. And once that mission completes, I didn't watch it all because I didn't want to see like too much story spoilers. So I might want to do that at some point.
Mhm.
But you end up like getting this contract to then go and infiltrate that space station. And so like it ends with you in like a ship in space, and then you're in like an astronaut suit. You jump out into space with a gun and are just floating towards that like it looks like
Okay,
a
maybe
space
I need to
hotel.
go play these endings.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of variation in the end.
Binding sounds very pedestrian.
Yeah, I know. Like,
But
so is mine at this point.
Yeah, Nomad and Pan Am, man, fuck that. Those are the worst options.
Hey, Pan Am's never the worst option, okay?
I know, but that
This is true.
secret
Actually, I
ending,
shouldn't say that.
it's literally like you have to sit on the dialogue option for 5 minutes, right? I mean, that's what I
It's a
read. It's
while,
like
yeah.
it's super secret ending. It's like,
Pan Am's definitely
Yeah.
not the worst romance option when Carrie's right there.
oh, yeah. So did everyone here romance Pan Am?
Yeah.
Except you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I romanced River, and I actually really liked. I thought like it was very well earned because I really liked that River quest a lot. And by the time I played female V, obviously, and when you get to the end, it was like it felt like you and River went through like hell together. So it was like, yeah, this makes sense. You know, like
mission is so fucked up.
oh, so
fucked
fucked up, so fucked up. And I thought River, like, I really like River a whole lot as a character. I mean, Pan Am's great, but
Yeah.
River might be my favorite like side character. And I think, especially when you get to the end of that quest line, and when you do the romance thing, like his voice acting and everything was really, really good. And then when you get to see him go from like the darkest place to being like happy dad grilling like hot dogs and stuff, it was like, this is nice. This is really nice. I like this a lot.
Oh, yeah,
That
I do.
moment too of sitting on top of the water tower and just looking out at the cityscape too is just a great moment.
See, that's and that sounds great too. Jeff talked about y'all are just like bros hanging out drinking beers. That's when
Yeah,
things
just drinking
got.
beers.
That's when we went to Sexy Town. Was on the.
There was
on
a few
the-
dialogue options where I'm like, if I were a female V, I can tell this would be sexy time. I can just tell that's what would be happening.
I do know one
Sorry, I cut
thing.
you off, Jeff.
I do know one thing that's different between my ending and the rest of yours, since Takamura lived in mine. But in fact, he did not live in mine because I went with the Pan Am thing. So Hanako died. I don't know if you noticed or if it happened the same thing with yours, Holden. But when you're in the radio or in the car at Pan Am during the epilogue, you hear a radio and it was mentioned that Hanako died in the attack, while her brother mourns, blah, 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 blah. So, your boy or whatever, her Hanako's brother killed her. During the phone calls, Takamura comes up and pretty much like, yo, you betrayed me. He's about to commit suicide. Slit his stomach up with a sword.
Jeez.
And I have one, normally when you do this, you write a poem or something. But instead, I'm just going to tell you this, burn in hell.
See, I'm kind of glad he just died in the light parade at this point. That sounds like a better death.
Yeah, like I cut out when you were talking about it, but I didn't know like you could save him because I was going through the trophy list and it says something about like save Takamura. Or
So,
something, like,
yeah, when...
do something with Takamura, and I was like, wait, what? He lives? Like you can save him?
So,
I
yeah.
guess you just have to like, because I guess you just have to like go
Jeff did
backwards
it.
instead of going forwards.
So,
Yeah, you have to go up to the other room. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
yeah, well, so what happens when you fall down, you fall down from the room he's in. And yeah, Johnny's like, yo, this way, leave. If you just look slightly to the left, once you walk to the end of that hallway, instead of going right, look slightly to your left, there's a hole there. And you hear enemies.
Okay.
So it's like, I'm going there. That sounds more fun. Oh shit, people. Gorilla Fist.
See, I was just listening to my boy Johnny. My boy Johnny said, "Get the fuck up and get out." I was like, "Okay, sir, let's go."
I was like, I ain't trying to get arrested. I guess he's dead.
Oh boy!
I just remembered, just to change subject, I'm slightly sorry about that, but I just remembered another mission where there was a pretty obvious decision that mattered, and now I'm forgetting it. I recalled it before, and now I can't remember it. We'll come back to it. I just remembered it, and I'm like, oh, there's this, and I just forgot.
Well, if we don't have anywhere to go right now, Holden, I think it's time.
Dream on.
Dream on. I think it's time.
Dream on.
Dream
All
on.
do the Dream on side quest. Did all of us do the Dream on side quest?
Did you do a whole?
Probably not,
Brent?
but I don't know side quest names.
Did you help out the mayor or the guy running for mayor? Okay. I feel like we need to just spoil it to explain it.
Yeah,
Would you
sorry,
mad at
Brent.
this,
We're
Brent?
probably gonna spoil this. It's a real cool side quest. I feel like this is one of those things that once it's spoiled to you, it's just gonna make you want to go play it immediately. Like more. So it's fine.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
just deafen myself because I think I'm gonna do another playthrough soon. So like, give me thumbs up when you're good.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
we will do that.
Yeah, so there's a side quest, Dream On, where you help out a mayor. You'll have to do a little bit to get to the side quest, but he gives you this job to figure out why someone broke into his house. You do some investigative work. You realize that his own security team has been essentially spying on him, and you find all these logs about it. It's really bizarre. And then eventually, through more investigating, you find out that there's actually some sort of huge entity in this world, like some huge enigma that is changing their minds. The mayor to be and his wife, and literally influencing them and to, I guess, get policies that are going to be effective. It's not really exactly quite clear, but then the mission kind of cuts off.
Yeah,
and like, because at least for me, because I decided to tell the mayor the truth. I keep calling the mayor. He's not the mayor. Yeah,
okay.
It sounds like it kind of ends similarly either way. Like, if you tell him, then the wife gets mad at you and cuts you off, and then he doesn't really talk to you anymore either. Or you don't tell him the truth, and they both get mad at you for something else, and they both block you or something like that. But what I thought was interesting is there's so many in the game that tie back into that idea where it has to come back. It has to be in DLC. So, like, I don't know what you found, Darby, but I found there's the epilogue sequence where the guy comes back and says, oh, I took these vitamins, and my wife says they're just vitamins, but I can't trust it, so I had them tested, and they said they're just vitamins, but I don't know if I can trust anything anymore. So, like, that comes back, and I feel like it was a small enough part of the game that they didn't have to bring it back. But the fact that they did means that there's probably something more to it. There are other characters that mention mind control. Like, if you hack certain logs and read certain logs in the game, they'll talk about how some of these corporations are hacking people to change their minds and their thought processes. There's some, like, even some side gigs that are tied into it. At one point, Judy mentions Elizabeth, the wife, and how she has a job for me, and they'll get them in touch, and then it never happens. And I think it's because Elizabeth knows who I am now, and she won't talk to me. Like, there's just a lot of things where I'm like, there's got to be more to this. It's such a huge concept.
There was also, I think it was in Judy's apartment, it was in the Perez's apartment. I think that there was one of the messages on their computer was like from Judy asking them for a favor for something. It's like, yeah, you could definitely see how like this could start to like web out into a bunch of other things. And my first thing I was gonna say was that, like, I feel like in Cyberpunk there's a fair amount of side quests that are kind of like that, where it's like it builds up to a really cool climax and then just kind of drops. And it's like there's no resolution really or whatever. So that made me worry about if they would continue this on. But I didn't really think about the fact that you're right. There was only, like, for me, 5 people talking to me at the end of the game, I think, like in the telephone thing. So somewhere around 5 or 6 or something. And like, that is one of the few side quest ones. Like, that's one of the few not like main people that actually came to talk to me on the phone there. So, yeah.
There's another tie-in I actually forgot, and it relates to the secret ending, which I think puts more importance to this coming back. Someone on Reddit noticed that when you're telling him the truth in the plaza, there's a balcony where someone is staring at you.
Oh,
and
shit.
And if you scan him, it says his name is Mr. Blue Eyes. Mr. Blue Eyes is in the E3 2018 trailer. So he's like featured prominently in their marketing material there. And he's also in the secret ending. You talk to him because he's the one who gives you the mission to infiltrate the space station.
Okay, yeah, that shit's coming back. It's
gotta come back. It's also just too cool of a plot line to not return to. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
But does he summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon?
But on the PS5, yes, you can, because you have
PS5 exclusive. Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Wait, no,
Seto Kaiba.
Kaiba.
Yeah, you see the Kaiba memes where he's like the PS5.
Yep. Yeah, but like just the way that like, I mean, even with you hyping it up so much, and I'm like, okay, I got Dream On. All right, the Holden said I had to get this. Let's do this. Even with all that hyping up, I was like, yeah, no, this is probably like one of the best quests in the game, because like the way that it's paced out, where it's like, okay, and the fact that it seems so non-assuming, you just like get this call, do this, and like, oh, okay, this was just setting up to meet River, and it's like, oh, okay, no, they're calling me back again, so it's like, oh, this little thing, and then when you find that room, you're like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is really weird. And then I was sitting there, I was like, how on God's green earth would they not realize there's an extra room in their house or whatever? And then when you get to the next step, it's like, oh, it's because their brains are actually being rewired.
I blank out her name, but the Y pretty much said, I think I've seen this room before. Like, it feels familiar.
Yeah, like they like know, but they don't know, and their like memories are being like,
Yeah, so I did differently than you guys. I did not tell them because my thought process was at the time, like, she kind of mentioned it's like, well, they'll make her forget anyway, and there's a chance they get killed for it.
yeah.
It's like, it's better if they're alive, I guess.
Yeah, I like sat on that choice for
Yeah.
a long time, and eventually I was like, well, if I don't do anything, then nothing will ever change. So
I
here we
hope
go.
Yeah, that's exactly what my thought process was. I'm
I
like,
hope
I want to
it's-
find out more.
I hope there is a DLC based on this. I'm not like not locked out of it because of the choice, or vice versa for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, yeah, no matter, like, it doesn't even, if they expand on this process, this concept, it doesn't even necessarily have to be about the Perez's, because this probably goes so much further. You know, you could take this in a completely different direction, so it wouldn't matter what you chose there, you know, because
It would even be like a nice little like look back, like, oh, and these are the people that were impacting the Perez's, and like, oh, I kind of want to go back to play that mission again and look at the logs.
But like whenever you're walking up to him and you get like hijacked and that voice comes, I got chills there when it was like that low voice that was like, you don't want to do this or whatever. It's like, shit, fuck. Like,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
intimidating.
they bring that back.
Changed the way I viewed the world after that mission too. Like I'm looking at these big buildings, going, "There's something bigger going on here."
So when we bring Brent back,
I think you bring it back.
Yeah, well, we just forgot to. All right, we good? Ready?
We're good. Yeah.
Everyone dies. You remember when everyone died?
Everyone
That was
died.
crazy, man.
Oh, come on.
And then when Nat
so
came
boring.
in,
oh fuck.
Oh,
What
come
are
on.
some other side quests you guys enjoyed?
River definitely. Panem's obvious.
Yeah.
I think. I'm trying to remember.
I feel like again, sorry, compared to Witcher, it's there was like a bunch of big individual quests or big less lines.
Kind of part of my problem with the side quests in this game in general is I feel like there's a lot of good ideas that are not completely baked all the way, so they don't stick with me as much. Like when I think about Witcher like quest lines, like a lot of them, they're like full quest lines that had a resolution. They were like really impactful and everything. But I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics because we just had to make Brent sit away from it. But Dream On's a good example of like it's a cool concept. It's a cool start. But it doesn't go all the way. And yeah, DLC might do that or whatever. But I feel like there's a number of those where I was like, this is a really cool concept that kind of just fizzled out. Like there was I met, any of y'all meet, her name was like Izzy Wizzy or something. She was like a pop star.
There's some weird missions.
Really weird mission, and it was really interesting at first. Like I liked that, like she was telling you one thing, but you were hearing your boyfriend say something else there, and you're like, okay, this is going to be an interesting choice. And it's like there's one choice that doesn't really matter that much. Like yeah, the guy dies or he doesn't in the quest, and it's kind of fucked up. But I was like, okay, I can't wait for her to call me again, and I can see the next part of it. And I looked it up online. It's like, no, that's just the end. And I just feel like there's a lot of side quests like that where I'm like, oh, that's it. Okay.
I was just kind of thinking about something, and it's kind of a Witcher comparison, I guess. But overall, the story kind of feels short. It also feels disjointed. Like, I do really enjoy it, and I loved the ride. But looking back on it, and it was like, okay, it kind of just ended. And there are certain path lines I was going on that was like, okay, that was clearly me getting to one point to get to the other. And it was like, it was kind of weird. Like comparing it to The Witcher 3, you could say it's like that too, because the blanket story in there, no spoilers, Holden. The blanket story there is you need to find Ciri. But where you go... Trust me. No.
I mean, that's like first. It's like first 2 hours.
Or girl.
But you need to find Ciri. So like, you'll go and that's what you're trying to do. But everyone's like, "Oh, I'll tell you if you do this for me." But it's like I feel like Witcher handles it a little bit better because, like you were saying, everything has arcs in Witcher. It's like you're going on these storylines. Like you have the Red Baron arc, or you have all these types of things, and they all feel fleshed out. Like all these chores I'm doing for people feel fleshed out, and there's a real like situation going on, and Geralt kind of cares about it, and he's like, I want to find Ciri, but I kind of care about what's going on here, and I need to figure out what's going on. With Cyberpunk, it was kind of like, oh, all of a sudden I'm dying now out of nowhere, and then the story kind of just pivots into saving your life, and it's like, depending on what ending you get, you feel like it's complete or not. Like, I didn't know that you could just give your body to Johnny. So it's like, there feels like there's so many, it's cool for different endings, but it kind of feels like there's so many like different aspect game, but they kind of just like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just like,
Yeah.
it's weird, right? Because it just pivots all of a sudden once like Jackie dies, and then once you get shot by Dex, it's like it's another game, and it's like I don't really understand what's going on here, and I don't have enough time to grasp. And then a lot of the quests feel like busy work or chores, and it's like, follow Takamura, I guess he's my only lead right now. And there's so many times where it's like, I don't want to do this quest, so I'll go do all these Takamura quests, and I get done with those, and I'm like, oh, I guess I have to go to the fingers doctor now. I didn't really want to do that quest. And it's like, it's just weird. I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of busy work.
Yeah, and there was more. I think this game, especially in the middle part of it, there was a number of characters that it introduced that was like, okay, again, this was a kind of cool first idea, and they have kind of like one moment and then they're gone. And it's like, okay, I'm not like, when we talk about this game 10 years from now, I'm not going to remember the like fingers guy in Pacifica, or the like weird fucked up Ripper Doc guy, or whatever you go to, Judy, or like but there's a bunch of these other ones that it's just kind of like there, and in a way, again, characters that I'm just not going to remember. And like, I mean, The Witcher kind of had the benefit of being more of like a serialized thing, where it's like this, you're in this area, and then you're in this completely new area with its own characters, and then you're in this other completely new area, and they're all kind of like self-contained within each other. Whereas Night City is trying to be more connected of this whole city with all these inner workings. But in
Witcher
the end,
felt like the Witcher books, and that was to its benefit.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're trying to do two different things, and I think for the most part, Cyberpunk succeeds in a lot of those things. But yeah, it's like, I think Johnny is very strong, Panem's very strong, Judy, River, those or whatever. But when you get past that, they kind of like mold into this malaise. Whereas I think in some other games that I compare it to, it's less of the case.
I think this is where me not playing The Witcher is kind of changing my view on the game. Because I'm kind of used to these RPGs just kind of having these, okay, it's over now. Okay, this mission's over now. And there's not like these huge conclusions. It sounds like The Witcher is really good at that. So I can see how that would have led to, it's CD Projekt Red. They should be able to do the same things.
Yeah,
because I didn't feel that, but I think I'm hearing you guys out. I feel like it's because I haven't played The Witcher and I haven't experienced like a side quest from beginning to end in that game and what that arc looks like.
Yeah, in some ways
there's like so many side quests in Witcher 3, real quick, sorry. There's so many side quests in Witcher 3 that are like, oh, I gave this random person some poison early in the game, hopefully they get better, well, medicine, and then like later on, like 50 hours later, dude will be like, hey, you saved my girlfriend 50 hours ago, and you're like, whoa. And then like main story quests, like I said, they're like chores to get information, but they feel so important. Like it feels like it's impacting the world. Like, oh, I need, this guy wants to tell me, is going to tell me about Ciri, but he wants me to take care of these witches. Like, I think it's the Bloody Baron quest, but I need to get rid of these witches because they're kind of bad people, and they're like taking all these people hostage. Like, there's so many times that the chores that they're telling me to do are chores, but they impact the world when I get them done. And I don't think there's a lot of that in Cyberpunk. There's a couple cool side missions, like the Jackie's funeral, which I never saw pop up until I was going through my side quests, like so much longer after he died. So I was like, oh, okay, let me do this before I beat the game. And that was a nice,
several weeks after his death. Let's go to his funeral.
We've been waiting for you.
We could have started without you.
Wait, Takamura makes a diner forever for you. Everyone's just waiting for V to show up. It's like a comment thread.
Because Mama Wells was like, took you long enough, and I was like, whoa, I'm sorry.
Dar didn't get the funeral.
Yeah,
I didn't get the funeral. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so did you send his body to Victor? Like I did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, Jeff, I figured out that I said they didn't reference it again. They actually did. There's a scene that I'm now realizing you didn't have that I did have at the end in Arasaka Tower. I just think it's very poorly done.
Okay.
It's like, it's a sad thing. He's like, Jackie becomes part of Mikoshi or whatever. Like he's a construct who doesn't remember you.
What?
Like that's what they're basic. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So if you send Jackie's body to Victor, he gets abducted by Arasaka agents before Victor can do anything with him.
That's why he was there. Okay, I was wondering.
And then Takamura tells you, this is where I was telling Jeff, like Takamura tells you halfway through the game that you know that Arasaka took his body, but then Takamura tells you halfway through the game that they've made him into a construct. So I'm immediately thinking like, okay, I didn't get that funeral scene that everyone loves, but I'm going to get Jackie back. I was like, when we get to the end of this game, I'm going to get Jackie back because he's still like alive as a construct. When you get to the end of the game, you have a scene when you're going into Soul Killer or whatever, when Alt like hits you with Soul Killer. He's there, and what they're trying to communicate is that he's this construct that doesn't remember you or anything. It's just really poorly done. Like the dialogue, he just repeats a lot of the same dialogue options to you over and over again. And I honest to God thought the game was bugging. I thought the game was bugging and it was just repeating the dialogue.
I'll take the funeral.
It was just not very well done at all.
Yeah, the funeral sounds better.
Yeah.
As much as I like Jackie, like I did like that he was a sacrifice that made V want to like carry on or like stuff like that. Like he was V's friend that's gone now, so V needs to focus on himself. The fact that he comes back as a construct, that's kind of lame. Like if they could have done, if that's all they did with him, I feel like they could have done that story good and done so much more with it. But they just kind of like, oh hey, Jackie's here. This probably messes with V's brain a little bit.
It's literally like not even 2 minutes. It's really insignificant. Yeah. I just remembered what the other mission was that has a difference in how it ends depending on how you make your decisions. And that's the Voodoo Boys when you go to the abandoned mall. Did you guys work with the agent or did you kill the agent?
I worked with him.
Worked with him.
I think we all three worked with him.
Okay, so then basically all the Voodoo's all the Voodoo Boys will die in wherever by the Black Wall. But if you don't work with him, then that won't happen or something like that. Then you don't have to fight that guy as a boss. Anyway, I didn't mean to try to track. I just remembered that.
No, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I could definitely tell that was going to be a change. I just never looked at what it was.
I'm trying to. I'm blanking on the names of the group. The mission that we were talking about from the very beginning. With
Maelstrom
gang?
Yeah, the Maelstrom. I slaughtered them. And then what's the organization?
Oh, yeah. So what was that like when you went for the samurai quest? The samurai quest later on. What was that like? Because we went into a Maelstrom bar with all those same guys.
That's right.
What was that like for you?
Well, no problem for me. Yeah.
So yeah, what happened was when you do the Maelstrom quest, their normal boss / previous boss, they kind of rebelled against him and he was held hostage. I let him go. So when I went to the Maelstrom thing, a lot of people were like, yo, you slaughtered a people. But the leader guy I rescued was like, nah, he cool.
Okay.
I have no idea what happens.
Sounds like there's a big chunk of this game that I just did not experience at all.
You need
That wasn't a side mission.
Yeah, you need to play the Johnny side mission.
Well, I was getting to...
yeah, that's a good one.
I just feel like they're... Like, I don't know how I would find side quests. It just feels like every time I get a side quest, it's like some fixer being like, hey, there's this random...
Ignore that shit. Play Panem, Judy...
Actually...
So,
all right, Brent, Panem, Judy, River, Johnny. Those are the big four.
I just can't figure out how to actually access any of these side quests in the world. Like, there was no people reaching out to me being like, hey, can you help me with something?
Really? I had calls
24/7 about random stuff.
So
there's another way to get side quests too. And it's there are some discovery locations on the map that if you go to persistently, it'll actually end up turning into a side quest. Do you guys meet the sentient vending machine?
No.
I found a
Okay,
talking
so
gun
You found a
That's
talking
cool.
gun? That's awesome.
that
There's a-
auto-aims with the balls.
Go to Mega Building 8, I think. It's the one where Cloud is. And there's a discovery point outside the building. It's a vending machine. He talks to you. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite characters in the game. But since you guys haven't played it, I won't tell you. But just keep persistently going back there.
Okay.
Okay, I need to do a second playthrough where I experience everything. Did you guys do the Delamain side quests?
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Delamain one.
I only did one, but the one I did was funny where like the car was about to like jump off the bridge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then you're
that was
like,
a-
oh,
that
this
was-
car has daddy issues.
Oh, turned out crazy. Is that the one where he starts chasing after he's angry?
No, the
No.
one I got, he was just on the side of the bridge and you were like, hey man, don't do it. And he's like, all right.
Okay, that's right. Okay, I
And
remember
then you
that
call
one.
up Delamain and you're like, yeah, I think one of your cars has like daddy issues or something. He feels neglected. And Delamain's like, I don't have time to deal with that. Thanks, here's your money.
I won't say anything, but it's worth doing all those Delamain missions.
Mhm.
It's worth it.
That's
I tried
actually
to,
one
but
of
that
the
was the
few
that was
ones
the
I haven't
only
done.
one where it was like giving me a radar to like find them. The rest, I'm just kind of like,
Mhm.
where are they?
I just
Yeah, I think
look in
only
the
side
quest
missions I
menu.
didn't do. Yeah, the quest menu. The only ones I didn't do is the boxing matches. That's the only side mission I didn't do. I did.
I did a
everything else.
couple of those. They were fun. I did one
They're
on stream. and I
hard. For
think
me, at
this
least,
guy
they're
got
very hard.
I just
I
hate
did one
melee
on
combat.
stream,
in
and
this
this
game.
guy was watching, but he got so mad at me because I kept dying, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like there was some times where like I didn't have a health bar. There's other times where like the guys weren't taking damage, and then there's the other time where the guy just stood still, so I killed him. It was the one I did was the twins, like the guy. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
Or you can just do gorilla arms, right? Jeff?
Gorilla arms, baby! Oh, I didn't realize I got one of the other best weapons besides the talking gun. I don't think anyone else got, and that's the dildo bat. Which I was going back.
There's too many dildos. In
So I was going back to the Maelstrom things. If you slaughter them, and what's that? The woman you meet name? The
I
military.
don't know. She
person?
died off screen for me, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like-
So if she lives and you take care of Maelstrom or whatever, or at least in my thing, she'll call you at some point for a booty call, with like nipple tape and all that kind of shit. You have sex with her, and then she leaves behind the dildo bat.
It's so
I think you
weird.
need Corpo for that. I think.
I don't know if there's nothing corpo about it.
No, I think it's just a way. There's a way you do that quest. But yeah, she died off screen for me. It was just like the guy she had hostage came and answered me at the door, and it's like, oh yeah, she did. She did at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, I never saw her again though.
Holy shit.
You just had the sex thing, and she's done with you.
Yeah, I had the guy,
Wait, is that
whatever.
that's the lady that when you're doing the Dex thing that you have the optional objective to call her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I don't think she ever died for me. I think like she called me at the end and was like, "Hey, we should."
Damn it!
Oh, I want to know what
gone.
happens.
They back.
Starting to happen all the time now. Sorry.
What are you saying, Brent?
Oh, I was just saying. The last I remember, I think she called me towards the end of the game. Was like, "Hey, we should do more business or something."
Yeah, if you go to where she is, you have sex.
Nice.
Brent knows what he's doing.
I gotta put that game back on my SSD. Let's go.
Well, before we get out of here, 'cause I think we're rounding to the end. Is there any last minute? Any last thing? I think we could talk about this game for like 6 hours and probably still have new things
Yeah.
to say.
Carrie sucks.
Yeah.
Worst love interest.
I guess all I have to say is I really like Johnny. I thought he was a really fun character. He's like the best part of Arkham Knight, like turned into the whole game. And it was kind of cool because in Arkham Knight it was cool that Joker was there, but it kind of sucked just because you know that Joker wasn't actually there. It was just you hallucinating. And this is cool because Johnny's like actually there. Like you're actually talking to this dude. Like he's a real dude you're talking to. So that's kind of cool.
I didn't expect him going in to be as much of a part of the game and as present as he was, especially with it being Keanu Reeves voicing him. It's like, okay, he's going to pop up like somewhat infrequently because it's like, it's Keanu Reeves. They couldn't afford to do all that.
He
much
might be
or whatever.
the big bad boss that you kind of hear about.
Right, something like that. But it's like, no, he is like almost the de facto main character. You know, he's like co-main
Yeah.
character of this game. He's
I
a
saw
very,
a
very
post that
big
was
part.
like I saw a post that was like, what if Johnny wasn't a big character until they got Keanu Reeves, so they rewrote the whole game, and I was like, I wouldn't mind. I feel like Johnny was like one of the best parts of this game. He was like what was compelling me to beat the game. So
and the fact that he would pop up even in side mission. I think my favorite Johnny moment in the entire game was that Sinner Man quest when the guy hires you to go kill the guy and then he gets killed and they just start talking about him being a religious fanatic and Johnny's like, I am never going to talk to you again if you don't get in this car right now. He's like, I just want to know. He's like, I just want to know what the fuck. He's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but if you don't get in that car, I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah,
I love the quest where like he gets like hella drunk and he like gets a tattoo on his arm. And he's like, yeah, I think you would like this one.
Yeah.
Johnny plus V with the heart.
Oh, Johnny's like, I'll be in and out, no problem. I told you, just give me the reins. It'll be great.
So good. That quest is so fun.
You get to party all night and someone else has to have the hangover. It's like, there you go.
That was awesome, yeah. And the tattoo is actually in a cyberware slot later on. This is such a great touch. In terms of like kind of final thoughts in the game, I mean, I still really liked it. It had problems, but I still really enjoyed it. I would say that, like, looking back at other grand RPGs I've played like this, you know, Fallout 4, Skyrim, I've never finished the main story of any one of them because I get too caught up in like exploring other things, and then I just stop playing the game. And this is actually one of the first like really huge Western style RPGs that I have completed, and then wanted to continue exploring the world to other side missions. Where I did almost all the side missions. So I feel like this is definitely like up there with my favorite RPGs. But I do need to kind of wait for a lot of these patches and stuff to kind of solidify that opinion or not.
Yeah,
I kind of have faith that they're going to be resolved.
This is like the first time I took a big RPG and beat it within like the week of its release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the length of this game is really good for it being that kind of RPG, but it feels more manageable and a little less bloated in some ways. You know,
For funsies, what was everyone's like finalish hours when you beat it? I feel like I have
Or
short.
what?
3.
how many hours did it take you to beat it? I was 63 because I take my sweet ass time with these games.
I was
I
at
don't
like 23.
When you beat the whole game?
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot, I literally can't imagine beating the game in 23 hours.
Man, no wonder you missed out on a lot of quests.
How the hell
I
you
know,
beat this
I
game in 23 hours?
I never found them like called to me. Like, and that's the thing.
There's a
is
side
actually-
mission quest like in the menu and the quest menu.
Yeah.
All the
All
side
of them
missions.
are like stupid fixer stuff. It's like I even did side missions. I did the whole Pan Am storyline. I did a couple gigs, and then I took 2 whole hours only doing the assaults. Like I don't understand how I beat it that fast, but.
See, I didn't even mess with most of that stuff, but like
game.
Judy just calls me and I'm like, hey, let's go.
True.
Yeah, I finished it at a little over 40.
Yeah.
I finished at like I think I beat the game at like 42-ish
Yeah.
hours, but then I put another 8 in after that. I think I ended at 50. I know that, but I think I like 42 hours is when I beat the game.
I wanted to do some more side missions before I reached the point of no return, but at that point I was like, all it is, it's like I'm not exploring anything in the world. I'm just like doing side quests to reach a deadline. Like I already know this is looming above me because I didn't expect to like reach it that fast. So when I got it, I was like, I really wanted to do more side missions. Like I remember I texted Holden. I was like, "Hey, am I close to the end of the game?" And an hour later, I'm like, "Oh, never mind. I just got the point of no
Brent, I
return."
will tell you, you are missing some side missions that are de facto main missions that are like better than a lot of. I mean, like you need to play the whole Johnny side quest. It's like as soon as that quest line started happening, I was like, "This is a side quest? Like, how is this a side quest?" Like you need to play it. At
I'll
least
definitely go back and do a second playthrough, get the platinum, do a bunch of stuff. I had a couple of this Johnny quests. Like he was like, "Hey, go to Row so we can go kill Atom Smasher." I was like, "Okay."
That's the
I go to
one.
her and
That's
she's
the
like,
one.
"All right, I'll call." She's like, "All right, I'll call you." So I'm like, "Okay." By the time I got to the end of the game, she had texted me once, but all she said was, "Hey, here's some information. I'll call you when I'm ready." she had never called me by the time I got to the end of the game.
I think
There are some
I
that
think that
takes
you
a
played it for
while for them to
23
call back.
hours is also part of the problem, that like the game didn't have enough time.
So
to
what I recommend is just skipping days and walking around a little bit. Fast forward
I did
time
that for
for
a few missions.
I had to do that.
Like every time Pan Am was like gonna do a mission, I was like, all right, I'm waiting a couple of days because I just want to keep doing the next Pan Am mission.
Yeah, I definitely had to do that towards the end when I knew like I just wanted to do like Judy's and Carrie's quest, because those were like, as far as I could tell, the only main side missions left.
Also,
Pan Am
I
called
was-
me in the middle of Dream On, and I just like did a U-turn and like went to the bad place.
The same exact thing happened to me. I was like, it would be really funny if we were like in the same. I was like getting on the interstate. And it's like she called me like, whoop.
Yep.
It's really
I know
funny
you-
because I had
We're
just
trying to
told
wrap
you
up.
it's like, hey, I got Dream On. I'm about to do that, and like right after I sent that message, to you put it down. Pan Am called. And I was like, well, turns out I'm not doing Dream On right now.
Guess they know to the booty.
I know we're about to wrap up, but like, how fucked up was that Evelyn and Judy quest? Because I got to the end of that and I was like, bruh, like this is not at all how I thought this was gonna end. Like, did you do a lot
Am I
of
kind of
those?
crazy?
There's still more to that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like after she died?
Oh yeah.
You gotta do Judy's quest line. Judy and the Johnny quest line are like must. They're treat them like main quests.
And
They're
River, if
must-
you haven't
it's
done it,
very
because it sounds like you
yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, River 100%. I was just assuming you did River. Yeah, do River as well.
I didn't know Judy
Judy
had
says-
more because like Evelyn died and she was like, well, thanks for being a good friend, V. And I'm like, yeah,
So-
no problem. I assume we were just kind of done.
Oh no, there's a lot more to that.
I
one. You
felt
gotta
like
keep going with that
Judy actually, like, after that, called way later than other ones. Like,
Yeah, she's late game.
yeah, like River and Carrie and Panam, you know, again, the other love interests you can have. They once their things start, you kind of do it kind of consistently. But Judy's like, it's a big break.
Yeah.
one. Mhm.
Yeah, it wasn't until I had the in the quest on the docket. Like
Yeah,
I was at that.
pretty much.
She didn't call until that time, so it was pretty late.
And sometimes they'll just send texts and you kind of miss them. I just kind of
Yeah.
noticed it sometimes, like, oh, and then they'll call.
I think
Yeah,
I was
sometimes
just
they'll,
playing
like-
slow enough to where I got all these things as they came. You know.
There'll be some times where I'm like, oh, let me take like 5 minutes to respond to all my texts.
It's like real life, dude.
Honestly. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to do a second playthrough and then invite all you guys on my podcast because I'll probably have a lot to talk
There we
about.
go.
Okay.
There we go.
Absolutely.
We're there right after Bug Snacks interview.
Dude, we have to do bug snacks.
Yeah.
Jeff, you have any parting thoughts before we get out of here? Everyone else has had their time.
Bigger game. I'm glad that, like, you know, the bugs are one thing, and I'm kind of surprised we never really touched them, which is fine. But
We've done it
yeah,
enough,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Wait, there are bugs in this game?
What?
I had none.
You didn't find the bug
Where's the
snacks?
at?
I didn't find
That's
no
what I
bug
was
snacks.
saying.
No,
You
I'm
didn't find
kidding, guys,
Bunger?
Where's the bunger?
Bunker.
Bunger,
Bro, I
Bunger.
just said bunger. That's crazy.
Bung-
Bunger's
bunger?
my favorite.
Bunger might be up for one of my favorite weapons. Just saying. You can use them as a weapon.
He is a weapon.
What was I saying?
I know you
They're not
want to
bug
talk
snacks,
about
it's a
bug
great
snacks,
game.
but we're talking about Cyberpunk. It's a good game, has bugs.
Yeah, good game. Just overall, probably because of the hype around it and I guess the pedigree for Cyberpunk, a little disappointing to me, but really good writing overall. And yeah,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think they sold the wrong game. You know, I think this is a Mass Effect style game. I mean, it's a very, very good one. It's a more of that kind of like, we're going to limit you as a player RPG. You know, it's like a RPG light almost, where it's like, you can color in a few places, but by and large, you're gonna follow the the path we have set for you, and that's just not at all the game they advertised. And I think that's where the disappointment is coming a lot. Is that like the game is good, but they just sold the wrong game. Like marketing.
if I had-
is,
If I had any hype for this game, I think I'd be disappointed. But I came in with like no hype, and I was pleasantly surprised.
You haven't even played half the game.
Well, that's also true, but
I was about to say, you haven't played a lot of the most memorable parts of the game. To be fair,
I still roll credits. That's good enough.
you roll credits. That is true.
In terms of like marketing all that, I feel like if they had taken a page from like how Fallout 4 was announced. Just announce the game. Don't do this 8-month like Square Enix or 8-year Square Enix.
Say 8 months Square Enix what?
Launch. Just announce your game 6 months before you're going to release it and leave it at that. I feel like if there wasn't this huge, massive hype around this game, we would have been having a much different conversation around it. And I also feel like there wouldn't have been the pressure for them to release it in the state that they did had it not been this 8-year wait for it. So it's a shame.
I agree. At the end of the day, yeah, I think that's why every time I talk about this game, I sound pretty negative when, by and large, I had a good time. I know if I, like, my sister and brother-in-law are huge Witcher and Cyberpunk fans, I know they're going to have a good time. Like, I can give this game to almost anyone who, like, enjoys video games. You're going to have a good time.
As long as you have the right console.
Yeah, as long as you're not playing on base PS4. But,
yeah.
But it just... I just don't think it's going to have the staying power that I thought it would. Like when I thought Cyberpunk would be a game that's is really hits home and is like top of this, like up in the top of 2020 for me, and it was something I'd be talking about for a lot. But like I think it's a really good game. It did some things really well and some things really poorly. So it kind of like all meets out into it's good but not great for me, which is fine. It's a fine experience or whatever. But it's just not quite, it's going to be like surprisingly low on my list. It's still going to be decently high on my 2020 list, but below things that I never thought it would be. It's a mixed bag. It's a very hard game to talk about. I have loved being able to just decompress and talk about this for an hour and 40 minutes. I needed this. It's interesting, very fascinating game.
Yeah, I think I had it like number 3 on my list. It was like Ghost of Tsushima. What games came out this year? I don't even remember.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, you should play.
Of course. Doom Eternal, and then Cyberpunk, I think, was my top 3.
That's because you didn't play Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I put it in my honorable mentions.
Good game.
I haven't finished it yet. I put Cyberpunk in my honorable mentions, so I couldn't quite go as far as to say it was a game of the year, because it's not a game of the year quality game in my opinion. Just because of the bugs and the technical issues, it just doesn't meet that caliber. It just doesn't. But if they fix up and patch it, then yeah, maybe I could reconsider that. But it's just an honorable mention for me. Well,
that was our Cyberpunk 2077 spoiler cast. We finally did it. Weight lifted off my shoulders. We could probably do a whole nother one. If
the DLCs come out for sure.
Yeah, maybe that thing needs to be pushed back a little bit after this launch, We'll see.
The PS5 version isn't out before like June. I'm gonna be a little upset.
Yeah, I'll replay it again on PS5 for sure when that update is out.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Why don't y'all plug your stuff before we get out of here one more time?
I went first last time, Brent. You go ahead.
Okay. It's all the same. Free-to-play podcast, Untitled PlayStation podcast, The Uncultured Opinions podcast. Why did I blank out? Twitch.tv/PorkChop118YT and PorkChop118 on YouTube. And I guess I post really stupid stuff on Twitter at PorkChop1864.
It's all good stuff. He's lying.
He has the best Twitch art in the world with the JoJo man.
Bro, did you see my recent platinum overlay that I did for like platinum in games?
I don't think
one
so.
Stream. It was really fun. Oh yeah, because it was like really cool. I was working on that for a while, and I was like, wow, it looks pretty nice.
Hell yeah, I'll have to look it up.
And I am Holden DePardo. I am on Respawn Aim Fire, a video games podcast. And then I'm also on Networked, which is like an Apple technology podcast.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much. Tune in for me and Jeff. Jeff and Jacob will be doing our best of 2020 top 10 games. We'll have to see where Cyberpunk ranks.
Will it be Bugsnax?
Will it be on Jeff's top 10? Because I think there's a chance it's not. Jeff's top 10 is an enigma this year, baby.
Considering Jeff wanted to talk about Bugsnax more than Cyberpunk at the beginning of the spoiler chat.
He literally, when I told him to do his final thoughts on Cyberpunk, he started talking about Bugsnax and then forgot what he was like. It just trailed off.
Give it to the memes. Talk about Bugsnax.
All right.
Final
Thank
thoughts
you.
on Cyberpunk? I wish it was Bugsnax.
Wish it was Bugsnax. Should have
Amen.
been Bugsnax. Then it would have. All right. Goodbye.